Well, hello. Um, Another week of unbelievable controversy and unexpected outcomes. The biggest majority defeat for a government ever, 300 years. And then the following day, a vote of confidence, and of course, true to form, it was never to be expected otherwise, that Mrs. May won, but only because she had 10 DUP members saving her. Now think of that for a first point. 10 DUP members who don't have the majority of voters in Northern Ireland on their side. Just think of that undemocratic situation. Just think of the situation that Mrs. May is very happy to tolerate that. After all, she's given them money. Billion and probably more that we don't even know about. Promises to DUP for the future. We have no idea what's been told. That's the way Britain is run now. There's very little that is open in British politics. So, and then we have on the other side Mr. Corbyn. I'm a bit ambivalent about Jeremy Corbyn, to be honest. There are some of his policies that I totally agree with. But then on other issues, he so lets me down. And on Europe, he lets me down. He lets his members down. He lets his supporters down. He lets his voters down. Now, why is all this? What is happening? Well, Mrs. May has a big problem. The Tory party split once in the 1840s on precisely the issues of today. Free trade, and Ireland. Same issues. And they are mortified. The Tory party is that going to revisit them again. Totally mortified about it. On the other hand, Corbyn is afraid to get too close to talking to May and form a sort of a national consensus. Because why? 1929 or something like that it was, Ramsay MacDonald got involved with the national government, and he's a pariah in Labour politics. Well, there we go. That's where we're at. So how do we get out of this? Europe understands. If you follow what happens in Europe, they understand. They're amazed. They're flabbergasted. This once important country is shambolic in its politics, lost its way. And what I think is happening is, you see, we first had a major realization of who we were. Suez Crisis, 1956, when that was a big debacle. So then we've been carrying on pretending Britannia rules the waves, even though it never has since then, and never will for the future. And the Tory party and the establishment, they can't cope with that. How can it be that the world is not without the influence of Britain? Well, if they just sat down for a second, it's obvious. The EU is bigger. The EU is a big force. USA, Europe, China. Emerging is India, and on the other hand, Brazil. And we're a minnow. People don't like this. And maybe I don't over-like it, because, I have a lot of pride in a lot of situations. But that's where we're at. We're a minnow in that game. And until the British politicians get to grips with that, get to grips with who we are, a realisation that the power has gone. In fact, the only power we had. And Maggie Thatcher and Tony Blair fully understood it, fully used it and utilised it. Our power is within the EU. Take us out of that, we will find out in the 2020s. It is San Farian for Britain. Anyway, so the next week, what's going to happen? That MP Bowles, Nick Bowles, I reckon his name is, he's going to present his bill. His bill will be that we put no Brexit off the table, and that will win overwhelmingly. So Mrs May, trying to keep the Tories united, will have a problem. Already people in her cabinet are saying they wish to support that bill. So that will go through. Week after next, I think. The next thing will happen, that'll go through. No deal is off the table. The next one then is we will apply to extend Article 50. So there we go. It's a difficult situation. It's a problem that the country must face together. I'm not an advocate of doom and gloom. There's always a way out. But what does that require? It requires a Prime Minister that is flexible, listening, compromising, stopping being delusional, pathological in her views, obsessed, absolutely obsessed with her views. She's been like that, you see, last decade. Very few in politics have told her you can't do that as Home Secretary or whatever. And I suspect living in a vicarage with strong discipline and everything else, she realises discipline is a thing. Must be firm, must be confident, move on, struggle on. It's not going to work this time. It's the end of the road now. The next few weeks is the end of the road for Mrs May. She either changes or there are problems. But equally, it is the end of the road for Jeremy Corbyn. He can't go on ignoring his members. He can't go on ignoring his voter base. He just can't do it. I know he has problems. He has problems with him being a Eurosceptic, lifelong, 30 years and more. He's got a problem with it. Then he has a few people in his shadow cabinet who are terrified out of their wits of showing a belief for being in the EU and support for a vote, a people's vote. What a mess. What a scene. What do I look for? Oh, I tell you what I look for. I look for the politicians of old. I look for the leaders of old. I look for the people who would stand up in Parliament, and there are a few still, to be fair. Hilary Benn, Yvette Cooper, Dominic Grieg, Anne Soberry, and a few others. They are there. They are there, fair play. And I lift my hat to them, although I haven't got a hat, but anyway. So there we go. That's what we need. People who believe in the best interests of Britain. Don't play politics. Don't play games. Can you believe that? Mrs May said it the other day. Stop playing games. Who's played games? People must come together. Who's caused division? Unreal. Unreal. Delusional. There we go. Look, you know me. I can preach forever. But comes a time, it's time to stop. Cheers.